Hi, everybody. How are you doing? Do I need to tell everybody that this is being recorded? I'm not sure everybody really knows that, but as always, we really should be telling people that when a webinar is being recorded, but understand that nobody can see you, and also nobody can hear you. But anyway, I just thought I'd tell you that this one is being recorded, and this is one of my favorite webinars, by the way, because I just love all the tools available to you in the MLS that a lot of people don't even know they're there. And so this has been MLS week, I call it. We've been very busy this week on MLS subjects. So let's go ahead and launch into it. Again, I'm going to try to get you out early. We'll probably will, but it's kind of a long shot. So we're at the Greater San Diego Association of Realtors, and my name is Kevin Burke. And there is my telephone number. There's my email address. I welcome you to call me. Email sometimes is better. I know I had a 2-hour break between the two webinars today, and so I'm still returning emails, messages, but I do want to speak with you. So anyway, email sometimes is better to set up a time that we can chat. So because I'm a talk to you kind of guy. So got some credentials here that make me qualified about the subject matter. Maybe the best credential is that I've been in real estate for well over 40 years. I'm heading into my 45th year. What is it, 79, right? I got my license in 79, and I have been using the MLS since before it was the MLS, right? I mean, I've been using it when it was the blue books, where you would go in and you would search for property for a client, and it would take hours. And I know I've done it, right? And I'm a pretty quick study. And it was newspaper print, for those of you who aren't aware. And literally your hands were covered in this stuff by the time you were done. And there were like 8 listings on a page, and it was 8.5 by 11 book. So it was quite a schlep to go through all that. And then of course, your client didn't show up, and then you were going to issue a contract on them. I mean, it's like, goodness gracious. So it's a lot of work. So I think we had some skills back then that were different than what we have today. And one of them is assuring the appointment rather than, being able to write it off real easily if it didn't happen. Right. But again, these are all the things that we try to talk about. And so I've been involved in the evolution from the MLSs, from those books to the dumpster divers, people going into our trash cans behind the office, taking the books out. But today we couldn't do books, right? Because, to think that, the listings are selling as they're hitting the multiple listing service, and we don't have 2 weeks to wait for a book to show up. So, it's just way past the ground for that. So anyway, lots of changes, and your MLS changes regularly as well. And I did the rules and tools class this morning, and that was a lot of fun. There was some really good stuff in that. And so hopefully you've had a chance to look at those things. But anyway, in the meantime, my goal in life is to teach and train and help people do better. And if I can get you to, $1 million a year, I'd be happy to do it. So that's where we are. I don't think there's anything else relevant on this page. So let's move forward. So we're going to be talking about stuff that's going to appear to be legal. I am not a practicing attorney. I have no interest. Trust me. I know Linda says, well, why don't you take the bar? And I was like, I'm just not interested. I'm having way too much fun. Have you ever been involved in a career where you're having so much fun it didn't feel like you were working? So, that's just kind of where we are today. And so I do a lot of trial work. I picked up another lawsuit last night. And so testifying as an expert witness. So I am a court certified expert witness, standard of care. Did the agent do what they were supposed to do, et cetera? Agents' duties of inspection, disclosure, sellers' duties of disclosure, market conditions in San Diego County. So those are my specialties. So hopefully that's going to help you. But again, a conversation not intended to be a substitute for the advice of your broker, nor for that of your attorney. Please consult with them as appropriate. And most importantly, our webinars are intended to be interactive. So I'm hoping I'll hear from you today during the webinar. Please utilize the Q&A button. We learned a long time ago that we don't really want to go hot mic, because the muting it again after the hot mic tends to go on and off, and so we have some challenges with that. So but Q&A button, ask questions, offer input. I do look forward to hearing from you because, again, I want this to be productive for you. I'm not just here to do a presentation and talk to the wall. I'm here to help you be successful in what you do. And so we got a lot to do, but we'll be okay. All right. So MLS rules and tools, and that was this morning from 10 to 12. This afternoon, we're going to show you how to do searches. I'm going to show you about 5 different ways to do them, and you're going to tell me which one is the best one for you. So you'll pick, okay? But there's all kinds of ways to find stuff in your MLS. And I'm going to make a pretty strong pitch for only using SD MLS. It does have over 2/3 of the market share in San Diego County. So that being said, on Tuesday afternoon, I don't have the links yet, but open house safety from 10 to 12, and then how to read the prelim, my award-winning program on how to read a preliminary title report on Tuesday afternoon. And that's a good one. So welcome to MLS week. As I said earlier, we're going to talk about member benefits of being a member of SDAR and SDMLS. And so I want to thank you for joining us for our discussion of Paragon searches. Practically speaking, the number one MLS skill in your quiver of arrows is going to be needs to be the ability to find properties for your clients, right? And when we talk about searches, I'm briefly going to also talk about the seller search. So, in other words, creating a collab center without, on Tuesday we did collaboration center for 2 hours, so I won't go all through that again. But you can create a search for your seller that will actually notify your seller of competing properties that may come on the market in their area. And so that kind of takes some of the onus off of us, makes it a little bit easier for what we're going to do. So everything else you can outsource or delegate, but you've got to know how to find property if you are a buyer's agent. On the seller's agent side, I know I've worked with people. I worked with a young man who was doing 822 transactions a year. He had one buyer's agent, but he was really focused on taking listings. But he had 7 full-time assistants. And each assistant had a different skill, a different job description. And so, so it can be done. But I do truly believe in our business, you've got to learn how to outsource. You've got to learn how to delegate. The next big question is, where do I get the money for that? Okay, so we got to get something going here. Okay, so today we're going to talk about how to set up your preferences wizard, and this is going to be a very big step for us. Okay, so let's go back into the Zoom program, and I'm in, or not in Zoom, into the MLS. And again, I started off by going to the SDAR homepage. And then from there, it took me to the single sign-on page. I clicked on Paragon and it got me here. Everybody's good with how to get there, I think, right? So I want to go ahead. I want to set up my preferences wizard, and there's a number of reasons for that. One of the biggest reasons is I want my search to be DRE compliant. I want my email to be DRE compliant. So I'm going to go up here to the top where it says preferences, and I'm going to click on preferences. And then over here on the right-hand side, you see three wizards under the system part of the program. Okay, so collaboration center we did on Tuesday. CMA preference wizard, I'm just realizing we haven't done that in a while. I don't know if that's going to come up in August or not, but we're going to talk today about the preferences wizard. And so if you're following along, please feel free to do so. Stop me as we go, but you'll find out this is fairly easy. But I need to set the foundation, and part of it is I want to make sure that my emails that go out of the program, because I'm going to save some of these searches and I'm going to set people up on automatic notifications on things. And I want to make sure that my information is DRE compliant, because the Department of Real Estate has said that your MLS and your Zip Forms product are considered first contact, which means the first time you've spoken to people. And so they want those to be DRE compliant. Is everybody good with that? I'm going to show you how to do it here, so make it easy on you. Okay, so I'm going to click on Preferences Wizard. And then it's going to pop up this window. Now, don't be intimidated. There's 16 pages, but you're going to find it's fairly easy. Like this page is really just read the instructions. So we're going to customize things. We're going to do, and I'm going to show you some really cool stuff, some stuff I like. Like for example, people ask me, how do you get that beach theme up there at the top? Well, I'm going to show you how to do that. Okay. All right. So So we'll have some fun. That's what we're doing here today. So you can always, they say in there, you can always rerun it, start over again, do all kinds of stuff. I'm going to show you how you can just cut to the part where you want to change it, so you don't have to keep doing it this way. But this is the basics. Okay. So user preferences wizard. I'm going to click the start button up here at the top. And again, please stop me if you have a question. So this is the agent image, and you know, God, I remember, you know, 25 years ago arguing about, you know, should we have our picture in there? Shouldn't we have our picture in there? You know, ladies, you know, is your picture going to develop stalkers? I don't know. My pictures develop stalkers. So, you know, so you know, is it possible? Sure. I don't think. I think the way that the industry is today, I don't know. I mean, obviously, be conservative in your dress. I'm wearing a tie in this scenario. I think that's the last time I ever wore a tie, except in court. I wear a tie in court, obviously, for obvious reasons. But I look very dapper in court. But anyway, pictures should be less than 5 years old. The Department of Real Estate says that's a requirement. Mine is about 5 years, probably just a little bit less. But as Linda says, I'm fairly timeless. So, you know, I probably could use this picture for another 25 years. She thinks I might actually be Dorian Gray. So for those of you who are familiar with the picture of Dorian Gray, then you know what I'm talking about. But I have a couple of things I can do. One of them is right here. This little link says add or update my photo. So I could put something different in there, or I could just remove it altogether. So it's only going to let me, should only let me have one picture at this point in time. Okay, so it talks about photo compression and all that. The beautiful part about this program is they have a really good resizing tool if you end up needing it. I don't know why it doesn't show on this page, but we use it in our listings because frankly, folks, our phones are taking really good pictures, right? And so some of those pictures are so good, and they're so they have so many pixels in them that, you know, they're just not going to fit. It's way too big a picture to put in there. So if it's over 781 kilobytes in size, it will be compressed for you. Okay, so again, a really nice part of that product could result in a reduction in quality, blah blah blah. So you definitely don't want it to exceed a megabyte. So you can read all this if you want to. It talks about acceptable formats and stuff like that, but JPEG image only is what it really wants. It says right in here, you can only use a JPEG for the agent image and office logo. It's recommended not to check the preserve original image format option when uploading your image. So if I was going to upload an image, I would click on the add or edit the image button, and then I could pick, you know, one of these other images, but I really frankly don't want to lose the one I have. But I can pick one of these others. And so this one is what, 141,000 bytes. So it's going to be 14 megs. So that one's going to be one it's going to compress for me. And that is my picture from the Circle of Excellence when I was made the president of the San Diego Association of Realtors, and so a very proud crowning moment. And notice that was 4 years ago. Look at that, I look the same, right? Isn't that crazy? Wow. Okay, so anyway, that's being said, again, they said do not check this box, right? Because that'll just mess you all up. Okay, everybody good with that? Questions? No, seeing none. I'm going to go ahead on to my next button now. I click on my next button, and now I have my office logo. And so obviously the same as the backdrop I have here. I think Linda wants me to use a different office logo. So I'm going to click on change image. I'm going to upload an image. I'm going to add a file, and let's see if we can find it without too much ballyhoo here. So where's that going to be? It's going to be under our company name. It's going to be under marketing. It's going to be under logos. And then from here, I can never remember where it was, but I'm just going to do the name part of it because pretty sure, there we go. There it is right down there. So it's going to load up the logos, start the upload. So I'm going to put that in there so that because we want Linda to be happy. Okay, so we're going to do that, and we're going to say insert that image, and look what it did. It inserted the image. Is everybody okay where we are so far? Does that help a little bit? So not that tough. And again, as always, I am happy to help you, off camera, whatever you want to do at some point. You just dial in with me and we'll do that. So I just changed my backdrop, and I'm using the logo that our marketing company created. We have a relationship with a marketing company, does all of our stuff for us. So, and if you ever want any of that contact information, just send me an email. So I'm going to go to my next button. I'm already on the fourth slide. This is the disclaimer regarding the shared identity. So, we within our office, we assume identities of other agents. You can assume the identity of another agent within your office. So in other words, I don't have anybody's usernames and passwords. That would clearly be a violation of our MLS rules. I don't even have Linda's username and password, but I am tasked with going in and I check our listings usually once a week, on Saturday night, when everybody else is out having a good time and I'm still working, I'm going to pull the listings up and I'm going to take a look to see are they DRE compliant? Are they NAR Code of Ethics compliant? Are they MLS compliant? Fair housing violations? Yes, no, that kind of thing. So that's what I do. That's my little job, is to make sure that everybody goes home okay. And so I will normally click on Linda because she is the broker of record for the company. And so I will click on that and I will assume her identity. Okay. So again, I log in under my username and password, and then I share identities. I assume Linda's identity. She's given me permission, obviously, in writing to do that, and then I go ahead. So now this is a feature that's only available within your office. I would recommend that you not do it with anyone except maybe somebody that's on your team who also has their own MLS access. Okay, you see the user codes right here. Everybody good with that? Okay, I'm going to click on my, and again, I can add more people. So I could literally go into, here's a bunch of other people in the office. I could add them and share identities with them. They have to obviously give me approval to do that. In most cases, I really, all I need to do is share Linda's identity, and then I can usually work on other people's listings and do stuff like that. So I'm going to click my next button. So the next button takes me now to what we call the market monitor. And so if you look over here on the right-hand side, where it's kind of grayed out right now, that's your market monitor. I look at that to see what's going on in the MLS. Okay, so for example, mine says it's going to go back 3 days, and here it is right here. Select the number of days back, 3 days, and I can change that. I can make it 1 day, right? So I'm going to change it to 1 day, and then that'll change it over here on the market monitor. And I look at this when I log in, because it gives me an idea. I see 19 new listings. I see 17 sold listings, so good. I'm outpacing my sales. But then I see 22 pending listings, so I'm not getting enough listings. You see that there's only 19 new listings in the market in the last 3 days, but 22 listings went pending. So that means more properties are going under contract than we're taking new listings. And that's part of the challenge we're seeing across the country, by the way. The inventory is just not there. And this is a perfect example of how the sales are outpacing the number of properties that are listed in the MLS. Okay. All right. So I wanted to say that. So that's what my market monitor does. I select my filter. So as always, this magnifying glass means, that there's going to be a list of things. Okay. So for example, for me, I'm probably more focused on residential, maybe 2 to 4s, maybe lots and land, maybe rentals, probably, fractional ownership or my timeshares, things like that. And then the commercial I handle in other ways. So I'm going to click my save button, and so it's going to give me those classes of property. Under property type, same kind of thing. I can start typing them, but I'm going to look at all other attached. I'm going to look at detached. manufactured home, mobile home, not so much because you have to have a dealer's license. Although in our MLS, mobile home just means that it's mobile, that that it was a mobile home at one point, but it could now be affixed to the land. So, and again, all I'm talking about is what my market monitor over here is going to be looking at. So, so I make that decision looking through all this as to what kind of properties I want to be looking for. Residential 2 to 4s, lots and land, all other attached, again, without going too crazy, detached, manufactured housing. I don't want timeshares. I'll take a townhome, a twin home, and obviously I'm doing this on the fly, right? So, so I'm going to click my save button, and I'm going to see I've got a whole bunch of fields in there. I can X out of any of these fields if I decide I don't want them. Or I can go back into the magnifying glass and uncheck and check and do things like that. My zip areas, this happens to be my market area. So, my home is Del Mar 92014, but I service all of San Diego. Actually, we service all of California. We've got a broker in San Francisco, literally physically in San Francisco, also happens to be an attorney. So lots of lawyers in our group here. So, sometimes it feels like a pretty safe place to be, but okay. So Del Mar, La Jolla, Rancho Santa Fe, Solana Beach, Carmel Valley. I'm going to pin it around that area. And again, all this for purposes of monitoring the market, a quick flash, peripheral vision. I'm looking at this when I log in and I go, okay, that gives me an idea what's going on. Obviously the County of San Diego. So which category do I want? I've clicked market. I don't click my info because, I don't really take, I don't compete with our agents. So, I don't take listings unless it's just somebody I can't get rid of. And sometimes, if I can't give it to one of our agents, and sometimes I'm stuck, but really my goal is to enhance the value of the agent. So I put in the market because I just want to look what the market's doing. I could look at the office, I could look at the firm, but I want to know what the whole market is doing. So it says market, and then down here, I've changed it to 1 day. And you'll see when we're done, it'll change the information on the market monitor. Is everybody good with that? Does everybody understand what we're talking about, what the concept is of all that? Linda, where'd you go? Okay, so I'm going to click my next button. And then from here, I'm a strong believer in keeping the default search criteria. Okay. And why is that? Because when I start changing things, then I got to remember what I changed. I like the defaults on things. So I'm gonna save my default criteria into my search page each time I open a new search page. Okay. Enable lookup long descriptions. Yes. Custom map address and zoom level. Yes. I can click to establish a default address. And so for those of you who wonder, and I'm going to click on this because I want to show you this. So I have obviously already changed mine. I had a problem before because what was happening, it was really funny because I was doing this class and then I realized, hey, that little red marker by default is where your office is located. Okay. So you can change that marker anywhere you wanted to change it. Now, what it was doing was it was showing our address up here on High Bluff. But we had changed that address a year ago. And so I realized, oh, wait a minute, I want it to be, where our current office is. And this is the best representation of that. So if you're familiar with Carmel Valley, this is right next to Ruth Chris. Okay. So that's where it is. I can also get the street view, which is always kind of interesting, but logging, going closer and closer. I'm just trying to make sure there's the parking structure. Actually, it's right over here. It's not even in that building. So I'm going to move the marker over to here. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to save that. Is everybody okay with that? So that's kind of a neat little feature. Now, if your office is your home office, and I don't necessarily recommend using your home office, but if that's what works for you, this is where you're going to change that. You're going to click that link right here. Okay. Enable map boundary by default. Yes. Zoom out to display all listing. Yes. parcel layer, lines only. My other options would be lines plus APN numbers, assessor parcel number, or the agent valuation model. I'm going to do lines only. My map view, I like the hybrid, which means I get the aerial view and I get the road view all together in the same one. And I'll show you examples of that in a couple of minutes. Okay, and then my save search page size, I want to look up to 50 properties. I can change that number, but 50 is a pretty good number. And then finally, my tax autofill. I really like CRS tax autofill. I've come from some other tax sources, and I just think the one that we're using currently is really the best one. So of the ones that we've used in the past. Okay, so I'm going to click on my next button. It's going to take me to my next field, and it looks like I don't know, how did I lose Linda? So anyway, listings search results. Again, I'm going to leave the defaults in here. Google Maps maximum results 20. And by the way, that becomes handy when I show you. You can actually look up driving directions, and it will go to each of the points of the properties that you're looking at. Okay. All right. Listing detail results. I've got mine under agent preferred. And again, should I show the statistics above the listing details? Sure. Show the field numbers? Sure. Under my other reports, I like the hot sheet report, and I do like the tour open house thumbnail, but obviously I'm just setting the default. I can always go in and change them as I'm going. Okay, telephone number, I put in my office number. It's the only number I have in there. I don't put my cell phone number anywhere. I don't publish it anywhere, but this is going to publish on the reports that, obviously, that I want it to print. I want people to get a hold of me. And if I start giving them 25 numbers, it's just going to make it more difficult. Okay, so I give them one number, I'm extension number 4. It follows me around. You can always get to me. Okay, all right. So you put in your cell phone number if you want to put in your cell phone. If you have your cell phone number in there, you'll be able to text listings to clients, but I'm not a big fan of texting. So I'm going to click my next button, and it's going to take me to select a theme. And so for those of you who are wondering, how did I get that beach theme? Here it is. See, user interface. So select a theme. And so I have a whole bunch of choices available to me. Obviously, July 4th was the one I used on July 4th. Now we're in the one in the summer. So I don't see a summer one in here. But I can see all kinds of different colors and stuff like that. And I can see Canada in the 80s and all of that. But I'm going to stick with beach theme. And part of the reason I do the beach theme is because I really feel like you can buy houses anywhere, but you can't get the beach anywhere. And that's a big value, I think, for most of the people that are moving to San Diego. Really, people move to San Diego because of the schools, but not necessarily the weather, but people think they move here for the weather. So, okay, all right. So advanced menu, I'm going to leave all this alone. If you're using Chrome, probably should print the background print, save the background print. What else? Anything in here? Uses option to stop showing tours. Yeah, so I think we're good. We're going to go on to the next page. And number of contacts, again, there's 50. Contact activity widget. How far back do I want it to go? And that contact activity over here, if you can see on the right hand side again, you can see that contact activity. So when my clients are doing things, it'll look back 3 days to see if they're actively looking at stuff. Okay, and that's another good thing. I have it over here, and these are also widgets. I moved the calendar down below contact activity because I wanted to see market monitor and contact activity first when I turned on the when I logged into the MLS. So number 10, page 10, very easy, Pacific time, obviously. And then under calendar notification options, I want all 3 of those in there. I want to be given those that information. I click the next button. Now I'm on the 12th slide. And again, this is, if you're going to put in the cell phone number, this is the place to put it. But again, I don't have my cell phone number in there because essentially I'm not a texting guy. Okay, so and it's not that I'm not in the 90s. One of our brokers gave me a hard time about I needed to get into the 90s. Well, that's really not it. The Department of Real Estate has said, and I've done panels with the district manager for the California Department of Real Estate, and we've all agreed, do not text with clients. Do people do it? Sure. Should you? I don't. We don't make it a requirement in our office that people don't do it. But if you are going to be texting with clients, make sure you have backup software that like an SMS backup and restore, a program that will back up your text messages, because you want those available, because if you are texting with clients and you get deposed, they're going to be able to grab your text messages, and probably better that you provide them than they call they subpoena your cellular provider, who gives them everything, not just the ones you want them to have, and so, or the ones that are appropriate to that file. So I had a case on that not that long ago where the agent said, well, I sold my, or I changed cell phone providers. And so the attorney said, not a problem, don't worry about it, we'll just go ahead. And they subpoenaed the records from the previous cell phone provider. And so now, smart guy, all of his text, and they pay people to literally go through the text messages. And so, anyway, I could go on and on about that. But for risk management purposes, I don't text with clients. Okay, everybody okay with that? You do what you do, talk to your broker, make sure it's whatever you're doing is okay with your broker. Okay. And if your broker has questions, they can always call me. I'm more than happy to help. That's what I do. I help people. Okay. So email verification, clearly my email has already been verified. And then auto populate BCC. I don't do that anymore. I used to do that. And what that did was that always blind copied me on stuff the client was getting. But I got a pretty good handle on the market. And when the client, and again, I'm calling the client, so I'm able to see what they're looking at anyway. But I'm going to show you that when I show you a quick little introduction to the Collaboration Center. I really don't like doing the emails anymore. I'm away from that now. And there's too many things that can happen to emails. They get spam folder. They never get there because the address was wrong, whatever. Or the client does something that defeats it, and then I don't even know they're not getting the email. So auto populate the email message body, absolutely do that, because you want to make sure that your message again is DRE compliant. And I'm going to show you what that looks like in a second. I don't do read receipts. Only because I think they're annoying, B, they're also intrusive. I know people that do them, and whatever, it's okay. I know when somebody sends me one, my program is set up for me to go deny, because I'm just not gonna, they don't need to know that I got the message. So, but the chances are pretty good I'm gonna reply to it anyway. And if I reply to it, then they know I got the message, right? Okay, all right. Display the property address and emailed reports. So yeah, I want that. So using a hyperlink, display the property address. This does not apply to Collaboration Center emails, which is a whole nother deal. Those are really cool. Okay, everybody good so far? I'm going to click, and again, if you're taking pictures, some people take pictures of this to see how I do it, but you do it whatever way you want to do it, and then your broker, make sure it's compliant with your broker. I'm going to click my next button, and I'm on page 14 already, and this is the longest one, by the way. So recurrent schedule, I want them to get the notices daily, every day. You could do every weekday, but most people are looking on weekends. When do I want them to get it? 5 o'clock in the morning. And why do I pick 5 o'clock in the morning? Well, the answer is because busy people like to work with busy people. And so hey, by 4 o'clock, I'm going. It's not a question of, are you up? It's a question of, I'm going already. Okay. And so, the people I work with, and again, this is Pacific time, right? The people that I work with are also up at 5 o'clock. And so they like to talk to me then. And, an interesting point, I've made my most money ever in my career was always made prior to 7 o'clock in the morning. I would go down, I'd sit at the office, and I would just, people would come up, they'd be looking at flyers in the window. I'd walk out, start chatting with them, do whatever. It was amazing how many people I picked up at that hour. I'd answer the phone at 7 o'clock in the morning. I remember I took a listing on 955 Intrepid up in above Flower Hill Mall. And I remember the guy called me up, called the office at 6:30 in the morning, said, I need somebody to come list my house. So you don't think those calls happen, they happened, right? But that was back in the day when we used the office phone number for things. And so, but I want to be available. Listen, when my phone rings, I answer it. And if it's a crank call, I can deal with that. I actually had an agent call me the other day and asked me if I thought about selling my house. And so I won't tell you the company, but but they called me up and they asked me the question. I said, I'm on the federal do not call registry, right? And they were, oh God, I thought they were going to have a heart attack. Anyway, I let them down nicely, and I said, it's okay. Just, I teach this stuff, so I just want to make sure that you're making sure you use the right language when you're calling people. So so again, early better for me, or maybe hit them after they get home from work and they got time to look at stuff. Expiration, so recurring expiration number of months, I put in 3. I figure after 3 months, if I haven't heard from them, and again, I'm a strong believer in calling them on a regular basis. So I'm going to call them every 2, maybe 3 days at the most. Outside of 3, no. I mean, you're going to lose them, right? But I call people all the time. I do my webinars and I think, oh my gosh, I got to call this guy and this guy and this guy. Right. So, I'm thinking about that all the time. I need to maintain contact. You need to be a people person. Okay. So that's pretty much there. 12 months, I kind of doubt it. Okay. So I'm going to click my next button again. And this is the part it was really important that I wanted to show you. And this is my default message body. So this is my standard message, and here it is. Well, let's take a look at the components. Again, I'm looking for DRE compliance. I'm looking at NAR Code of Ethics compliance. And so what do I got? I got my name as it appears on my DRE license, right? I've got my telephone number for contact purposes. I've got my affiliation with a brokerage. And remember, DRE and NAR both require that. Okay, and then I've got my our DRE corporate number, because we're a brokerage corporation, DRE recognized corporation, and then also my personal broker number is in there as well. And you can see from that number that I got into real estate back before dirt. So very few people out there in real estate today that have a number lower than mine, but it happens. And one of my best buddies, Joe Kazora, he's got a 0055 number. I'm so jealous, and yet he got his license barely before I did. And so, but he's got a much older number, and so as you know, they keep racking them up, and I think we're into the well over the 2000s now. So okay, so I just wanted to show you that. So I've got all the ticket items in the signature line that I need. I've got my affiliation with my broker. I've got my DRE numbers both for the brokerage and for myself personally, and I've got my name as it appears on my license. Somewhere along the way, by the way, because my middle name is Michael, and so my license has always said Kevin Michael Burke, and then somewhere I must have done a renewal, and instead of putting my middle name, I put my middle initial, and they bought it. And so it's been that way for ages. My driver's license has Michael in it. I always tell everybody it's Kevin, M as in magnificent, Burke, that kind of thing. Because again, as I always say, I want to be memorable. Okay, so let me go ahead and click on my next button. And then here's my standard signature. Again, if I want to change that signature from before, this is where I'm going to do it. Is everybody okay with that? And if you click in here to try to do that and it's not working, then go up here, click on like the B or something, so that it'll activate the signal inside here. Obviously, I give my phone number with my extension in it. The minute the voice comes on, just hit the 4, it'll take you right there. Everybody okay with that? Anybody have any questions on that? It's very important. I want to make sure that your signature line is DRE compliant. Okay, seeing none, I'm going to go ahead and move forward to my next button, and it says, of course, congratulations. We're not going to do the Collab Center wizard that we did on Tuesday, but I wanted you to have that. So I'm going to close that. So now I know I'm compliant. So again, that was my preferences, my search wizard. Now let's talk about some ways to search for property. And why am I searching for property? Because I'm looking for property for a client. And so I have to know my database, right? Let's go back in here really quick. We did the preferences wizard and to be DRE NAR compliant. Now we're going to talk about power searching for properties, and then we're going to talk about the regular search. So rather than flipping back and forth a whole bunch, the power search is located up here. And this is actually a pretty cool feature. I'm assuming you're using Windows 10 or newer. And if you are, you see that little microphone right there. All you have to do is click the microphone, and then you can speak the listing that you're looking for. And again, you start adding characters. You got to type, once you get 3 or more characters in there, it's going to start giving you options. So Look at this. All these have 811 in them. Okay. But not only that, but it'll also look up agents with 811 in their license number. Okay. And then as you go further, it'll also show you those offices that have 811 in their numbers. Okay. So kind of good information to have, but obviously more, I need to put in more. So then I'm going to start typing in my America way. And so as I do that, I see, all the listings here that are all 811 America. I didn't even finish it, right? I didn't even put the last A in there, and it gave me this entire list. So I'm going to pull one of them up. I'm going to grab the active listing, and it's going to pull up. Jeff has put his property into the MLS. I sold the property to Jeff back 15 years ago or so, I guess. And he's put it in as a rental property, very furnished, et cetera, et cetera. So that being said, I don't see any violations. It's just kind of a natural thing for me to look. But anyway, so that's how I search from the power search field. And again, there's a question mark up here. When I click on that question mark, it takes me to the Black Knight power search explanation of things. I've just given you the synopsis of it. The introduction's a minute long. And so, we spent a lot of time on that, but just be aware that that's where the question mark takes you. Okay, everybody good with that? So that was the power search. I wanted to talk about that, but let's talk about some other searches, some other ways to do searches on property. And so here's my big search button right here. But before I go there, let's go back to the home page. And why? Because on the left-hand side is my quick search, right? So I'm going to tell you, I personally don't utilize this much, but I do go in there, I do things with it. So for example, down here at the bottom, listing or selling agent, I added that field. I'm going to show you how to do this in the regular search. And then it works everywhere in the MLS. So that'll be easy. Notice down at the bottom, by the way, message center. So this is my message center history. And so if there were messages in there, it would tell you what those messages were. Over here on the right-hand side, again, I've got my market monitor. Notice that it switched back to 1 day, 12 new listings in the last 24 hours, 8 sold. So there's some better news, right? So 8 properties are off the market, but we've replaced them with a third again, the number of property, or a quarter again, the number of properties that have sold. And so 8 sold, 8 pending. You see what I'm saying? And then that 12 number says I'm accumulating property, which is a good thing. Okay. All right. So let's go over here to my search button. And again, I already showed you the power search. We already looked at that. So here's my search button. And now let's talk about this, because this is where we really get into this. So I've got several ways to search for property. Okay. So one of the ways is to search by class. And so what are my classes? Well, I have residential, I have 2 to 4s, I have lots and land, and you have to be specific about class under most circumstances, but I'm going to show you a really good way, a really good workaround for that, where you don't know what it is. I had an agent call me and say, my client called me up and they said, I'm looking at the sign in the yard and here's the address. And so the agent looked it up and it wasn't showing up in the MLS. And I said, well, what kind of property was it? And she says, it's a house. I said, are you sure it's a house? And she said, no, I'm not sure. They called me on the phone and I didn't think to ask the question what it was. And so I said, well, it could be 2 to 4 units. And so, so she went back in and she tried it under 2 to 4. And what do you know? She found it, right? Because it didn't show up as a single family home. It showed up as a duplex. Duplex meaning that one person, one APN number owns both sides of the property. So same configuration as a townhome or a twin home, but only in a twin home, there are 2 different owners, 2 different APN numbers. Is everybody okay with that? All right, so that's my difference. My residential rentals, clearly, and we're going to go through each of these and I'm going to show you some neat tricks. Fractional ownership is a timeshare. So if you're looking for timeshares, you would click on fractional ownership. And then I got a whole bunch of commercial in there as well. Well, let's say I don't know what the property type is. I'm going to go down here and I'm going to click on multi-class. Okay, and so multi-class allows me to check under
obviously more than one class. So I'm going to go over here to the magnifying glass. I'm going to click. Remember, magnifying glass means there's a list. I'm going to look at the list and I'm going to see, wow, look at all these. Well, I'm going to click all of them, but then I go down here. I know I don't want the fractional ownership, and I know I'm really not going to be looking for the mobile home parks, perhaps, or the biz ops. And I'm going to probably get rid of commercial land. And so essentially, I've got my residential, my 2 to 4s, my lots of land, and my residential rental property. But again, I'm looking for property for sale. And so I guess I'm going to take out that residential rental. Okay, so now I've got my residential property, my 2 to 4, and my lots of land. I'm going to hit my save button. And then notice how this number up here has become 3,546. That says to me that there are 3,546 listings in the multiple listing service currently with those 3 different classes: residential, 2 to 4s, lots and land, and again, all of San Diego County, active and back on the market. Now, so I don't know about you, but if I start showing 3,546 homes, we might get done in the next couple of years, but then when we start over, we realize all those homes have sold. And so this is what I do with my client. I sit my client down and I say, okay, so let's talk about what you're looking for. Okay, and so this is my best closer, by the way. I do everything I can to get in front of the client at a time when I can demonstrate the MLS to them. And so that's why you're here today, because if you get really good at doing this, then you're not going to be worried about them asking questions that maybe you don't know the answer to and stuff like that. Okay, so I've got I've got my 3 classes in here. I'm not 100% good with active and back on the market. I really think in my world, I like having contingent and coming soon in there. So I'm going to check all of them, but I also look for pending listings. And so why? Because I have sold so many houses that were pending that the agent was literally just trying to get out of it, right? It's like, we're trying to figure out a way to get rid of the buyer, but at the moment, it's all we've got. So if you please write your offer. I have sold so many homes that everybody else wrote off. The other real estate agents aren't looking for pending listings. And so I'm thinking, wow, in a market where our inventory is so low, what's it going to hurt me to find out, hey, are you accepting backup offers? And I want to be an official backup offer, with a backup offer form, right? And get my offer accepted by the seller. And if anything happens to the primary offer, I get it. A lot of times all it does is make the primary offer more anxious and staying in the deal. But at other times I see the primary offer couldn't get closed anyway. So I'm going to end up with the deal. Okay. So in a market like the one we're in, I'm not going to count on only the active contingent backup and coming soons. I'm going to add the pendings to it. So I'm going to hit my save button. And now I'm going to see my number went way up to 6,443 properties. Once again, I don't want to make myself crazy. So what am I going to do? I might want to limit the area that I'm looking in. Okay. And so I'm going to go in here and I'm going to say, well, how about Del Mar? So I'm going to type in Del. And as I type in Del, it's supposed to come up with the world of possibilities. So Del Mar, and of course it's not giving it to me. So well, actually it did. Look at that. It dropped it down to 63 properties. So again, I typed in the name of the city to get that. If I type in San Diego, I'm going to have thousands, but I've clearly knocked it down. So over here on the right-hand side is a summary of what I've done in my search. And this is your multi-class. This is a big search. So my county is San Diego. My status is the ones we checked a second ago. My class is the residential income, 2 to 4s, and my lots and land, and the city contains Del Mar in it. Okay, so now I'm at 63. I'm starting to get a lot more manageable. Okay, all right. Can I do other stuff? So maybe I only want to look back listings in the last 3 months, right? So listing date received, I click my date range. I tell it I want it to go back 90 days, otherwise known as 3 months. So 48 of those listings, so knocks 20 of them off, but 48 of those listings were listed within the last 90 days. Okay, so now it's getting to be, wow, why would the listing still be available after 90 days? Okay, and maybe there's something wrong with it. Maybe it fell out of escrow. There can be a million reasons why. Okay, all right. So then what else do I have in here? So one of the things that I did, and I want to show you how to customize this whole thing. So one of the things that I did is I said, okay, well, I want to change. We have two things. We call them fields and we call them containers. And so this is going to be my load the save search. This is going to be my load the last search, but this is going to be fields and containers. And so one of the things I wanted to look for, so this is a container. When I close this, that's a container. These individual items in here are fields. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll down here and I put in there, I added fields to my search, to my regular search. I added listing or selling agent, listing or selling office, listing or selling firm, listing agent's DRE license number, selling agent's DRE license number. And why did I do that? Because sometimes I'm just looking, I'm doing a transaction with a young man right now. I'm just kind of curious as to how busy he is. And so maybe what I'm going to do, does he have any other listings? I'm going to go ahead and type in his name, or I could type in his DRE number. And then that way I can see what kind of activity. Now, I'll never forget Dana Moore calling me on the phone and saying, Kevin, you know, that's not what this is intended for. And it wasn't referencing in a class I was teaching, but she was the head of our rules enforcement for, God, I've known Dana for 25 years, 30 years. Super lady. She knows I know the MLS probably better than most. And so as a result, I knew how to look up other people's production because I wanted to find out, you know, how much experience they actually had. Now, sometimes I'll look at their DRE number and if it's like Joe's is 0055, then I know this guy's got 40 years of experience, you know, more than I have even. But if it's a 20, you know, or 23 number or whatever, probably less experience. But again, I'm here, I like to teach. And so I find that most every transaction I do, at the end of the transaction, the agent says, oh my God, I learned so much. And I would always respond with, thank you so much for teaching me. I mean, I learned something new in the transaction as well. So that's important. So everybody understands that's where I got those fields from. So let's go up here really quick and I'm going to click on the field, okay? And so this is where I have them. So over here on the right-hand side, this says the fields I currently have in there. Well, I'm going to get rid of some of them. I'm going to say, I want to get rid of that. I'm going to get rid of that one. I'm going to get rid of that one, and I'm going to click on remove. I don't want to click on remove all, right? Because that's then I got to remember, what did I just do? Okay. Now, if you make a mistake and you do remove all, you can always hit the cancel button, which will take you back to what you had before. Okay. But I got rid of some of the stuff in there that I didn't think I needed to have. But then I have other stuff, you know, like I have somebody right now looking for an ADU. So I click on the ADU, I click on add, and now it adds ADU over here to my search. Okay. So now I can do apply. If I do apply, then it says that, so I've shown you how to remove it. I've shown you how to apply it. And by the way, I could also look up bedrooms, right? I could do BED, and then, you know, it'll give me options in bedrooms, you know, that kind of thing, how many bedrooms it has, you know, and I can add that to it. So obviously I can type it in up here and that'll find it for me without me having to go through this long litany of information. Okay. And in a minute, I'm going to show you how to get the listing input sheet so that you can look these fields up if you don't know what they stand for. Okay. All right. So if I click on apply, it'll apply it to this search only. But then when I check out of the search, everything will get reset back to where it was. If I apply and save it as, then I'm going to create it as a separate search, and maybe I'm going to attach that to a client. So, you know, save search as, well, I don't know. So here's my save search as. So am I going to save it just to myself? Well, no, I want to save it to a contact. So what search name am I going to give it? I'll put in last search or last search crowd. I'm just going to make up a name because I'm going to delete it later because I'm going to show you how to get rid of searches. So assign it to a contact. I can click on that button. It'll pull up my whole list of contacts that I'm using, or I can add a new contact. Is everybody okay? So I'm going to give the new contact a name, whatever that's going to be. And then down here, the only pieces of information I really have to have is the first and last name. But obviously, if I'm going to email them stuff, I want to give an email address in here as well. Okay, so I'm big on getting personal emails, but I'll usually ask for a business card because I need to break that ice. So like at an open house, I'll ask them, can I have a business card? Do you have a card? Right. And they're like totally thrown by that because they're usually used to getting a card from the agent. And so I'm going to tell you as the agent, that's the last thing you want to give them. Why? Because then they're going to say, oh, don't worry about it. I'll call you. No, I don't want you calling me. I want to have your contact information, and then we're going to see if we love each other, right? So, do you have a card? And I do, and I stop right there. She's just amazed at how I can talk so much, but I always know when to shut up. Okay, so hey, oh, do you have a card? Right, and then I look at the card and I go, okay, is this a good email address for you? And right away they go, no, don't send it to my office. I don't want them to know I'm looking for property because I'm moving from Detroit, right? And so let me give you my home email address. And so I'm really good at getting that. Is this a phone number? If I find a really good deal, one of those run, don't walk deals, is this a good number to call you? No, that's my office. I don't want them to know. Here, let me give you my cell phone number. So I'm really good at getting information, but I found in my experience that the minute I give them my card, it's over, right? They're not going to talk to me anymore. Oh, I can call you. No, they're not going to ever call you. Okay. All right. So what am I going to do in here? I'm actually, let's go ahead and, well, if I try to save it, I think I've used up most of my email addresses. So maybe I'll assign it. Let's see am I still in here? Oh no, I can use it. Okay, hang on. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to add a new contact, and we're going to just make up a name. And then down here, I'm going to put my Gmail address. I hate to give you my Gmail. Never mind. I'm not going to give you my Gmail address because I don't answer it. I don't look at it. It's outside of my field of vision. So I'm going to put in my personal email address, but I don't look at that much either. That's why I'm using it here today. So name, all I needed was first name, last name, email address, save. It just saved it. The new contact was just added successfully. Okay, so there's the name of the contact. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do save and notify. So this is that part of, I found that I did the search. I want to notify them. It says here conflicts was allowed for prospect, must specify a listing visibility type. Okay, all right. So I didn't do that yet. So I'm gonna hit my cancel button because it wants to know what the listing visibility type is. And where did it have that? Does anybody see that in here? Search must specify a listing available for prospect, MLS, oh, and coming soon. Well, oh, for crying out loud. Okay, I get it. Where is it here? It should be down here lower. Listing, where is it? Oh my gosh, look at that. It's not even in there. Listing visibility, where is it? Anybody see it? I'll be darned. Look at that. It's not even in there. So I need to add the listing visibility type. So, okay. So listing, there it is. Listing visibility. So see, there's an example of something that I deleted that I needed to have in there in order to move forward with what we're doing. So now I'm going to do apply, save as, and again, pull up what's his name, pull up my name so that I can do this. And where's there it is right there, and then hit save button, and then save and notify, and then it's going to give me an error again. Why? Because I put the field in there, but I didn't put a value in there. So where did it go? Down here it is, listing visibility type. And again, here's my magnifying glass. And so MLS listing or coming soon. I want both of them. So I'm going to put those in there. Okay. Now I've got 48 properties. I could search it first. So let's search it. What the heck? Let's take a search. And again, this is going to show me 48 properties. Again, these are Del Mar. So look at all the active listings. Del Mar is starting to accumulate listings, which is really good news, right? But boy, look at all the pendings. Oh, who would have ever thought? And again, we're not looking at solds, we're only looking at the active and pendings. And so what you would do is you would determine whether or not you wanted to send all of those listings to the buyer. And if so, click on the all the listings button. It'll send them 68 listings. It'll send them up to 250 listings. Okay. So, decide if that's what you want to do. But you might go through it and you might say, they're not going to like the one on Santa Fe Avenue. They don't want to be east of 5. So we'll get rid of that one. Here's a couple of vacant lots. But you see what I'm saying? I wouldn't have this production, this many properties, if I hadn't known to search for the multi-class properties. Everybody follow me there? So lots of again, these are RE is going to be my residential property. It's going to sort them. It should have sorted by property. Here's my LN is my lots and land. So it's going to have all those properties for them. Okay. So now I get to make a decision. I'm going to send them to the client, but how am I going to send them? So there's a number of ways for me to do that. And so the old way to do it is, sorry about that. The old way to do it is to email them to the client. So I'm going to go up here. You see where it says email? I can do a couple of things. I'm going to click on email. How do I want to email it to them? As a PDF, probably. Okay, most people do that. The 46 selected listings. Okay, and I notice up above though, I also have the ability to create a collab link, and I like the collab link best, but I'm going to show you what that looks like in a second. PDF attachments, a standard way of sending them as PDFs, and so they're going to get 68 PDFs, or if you send it as a hyperlink, they click on the hyperlink, and now they can just open up the hyperlink and then go through them as they want to. But they also have the ability to do the collab link, and again, that's going to create a what I prefer, which is a collab link for them. So I'm going to hit compose email, and then who's it going to go to? Well, I wanted it to go to me, so where's the me thing? There it is, right there, the ZFGBD whatever. Did I do that right? No, I didn't. Okay, so let's try that again. I think it was no, darn it. Okay, no. Let me see if there it is. Okay, so it was the ZD. So anyway, so there it is. And so now here's my hyperlink. Okay, so they'll click on the hyperlink when they get it. Again, use HTML format and do the hyperlink. Well, I'm going to cancel that because maybe I don't want to send it as a hyperlink. I'm gonna click on email again. Maybe I'm going to send as a PDF attachment. I click on compose email, and I should be showing you over here where it says property system grid. That's how I like to send it. And so once again, I've got my whole great big long signature line in there and all that stuff. And this is the PDF. So they're going to get it as one great big long PDF. Okay. All right. What else can I do? So I've got a number of options. So I can insert it into the body of the message. And again, I'm not going to go through all of these because we'll be here all day, but property system grid is really important. That's how I send it. So I determined that up front about how I was going to send it. Okay. Now I do have some other options, and that's this little weird looking thing. So this is that collab link share again. When I click on that, it pops up and it says, here's the collab link. I can click on copy link. I can go into my email platform that I use, and I can send it out of that. That way I've got a record of it, all that kind of stuff. Okay. All right. So I can do it that way. The other thing I can do is what I said to you earlier. I can text message it to the client. Everybody see what I'm clicking on here? I'm going to go text message, and then it's going to pop up a thing and it's going to say, you don't have a text phone number in there. And I go, I know. And then it's going to ask me to put in a phone number for texting purposes. Okay, let me close some of these here. All right, so there it is. And so that would be how I could go ahead and do that. Okay. So, all right. So multi-class again, what else? I can save it. I can save it to a listing card, for example, if I was saving it for a seller, stuff like that. I can do all kinds of really cool stuff with this thing. All right. So, but one of the things I promised you was driving directions. So see here, driving directions. I just really think that's the coolest thing. So I'm going to click. So only the first 9 will be used because otherwise it's just going to be insanity. So what do you want your starting point to be? I have people sending me emails saying, oh my God, that is the most incredible thing I've ever learned. So hopefully you feel that way, that this is something that's going to benefit you. But you get to select a starting location. You might start with a contact if you're meeting your contact at their place. You could start with your home. You can start with the office. You can pick, I've got obviously office checked. What is it going to say if I tell you my home? Okay, so I have pretty much the same thing. Um, I work at home, right? So, that's my office. So I can choose a contact and do all that kind of stuff. Now, find directions by what? Address. And then it's got that first 9 in here. Rearrange the order of listings in the Google Maps by clicking Get Directions. And so here I'm going to click on my Get Directions button. And this is, like I said, is this the coolest thing? So for those of you that go on caravans and do stuff like that, this beats what we used to do. What we used to do is we used to print the Thomas Brothers guides, and most of you don't even know what that is. But the Thomas Brothers guide was a document that was printed, usually every year they'd come out with a new one. And Carmel Valley was just growing so fast. And so we would print the pages, and literally, I'll never forget, putting the pages on the ground and scotch taping them together to a point where we also had them laminated so that we could write on them and then reuse them again and again. And so, but we were doing all that thinking that was going to be the way it was going to be forever. And then we come up with this. You don't even need it anymore. I mean, look what we've got here. So maybe I'm looking at the listings, and I got my list over here on the left. Again, it's in Google Maps. And so maybe, here's the office. This is where it's starting from. Well, I kind of like meeting the client at the office because then that shows, professionalism and all that. The way it's got us going is it's got us going up here to this property first on Via Aprilia. So, here's the office address up here. Here's Via Aprilia. Here's Amphitheater. Maybe I don't like the route it's taking. Maybe I want to go. Actually, I guess you really don't have much choice if you're going to do this one. Let's zone in just a little bit so we can see what we're doing. But this is the one up in San Diego. So Caminito Daniela, it's on the other side of the freeway. They said, no, we don't want to be on the other side of the freeway. So boom, I'm going to exit out. That's going to get rid of a lion's share of our little tour. But now it's starting to make a little bit more sense. Okay. So again, I can rearrange the order. I can drag them up and down. I can delete them. I can do stuff to them. And then it looks like a 32-minute drive, assuming we don't stop at each property. But whenever I'm creating my tour of the property, so whenever I'm going to show clients, I never show them more than 6 at a time because I just think, you're just going to put them to sleep. Okay. So I can add other desks, maybe we decide we're going to go to Denny's on, Lenny's, I call it Lenny's on the corner. I can click on send the directions to my phone. So now I'm using my phone, which is of course hands-free up on the panel, and they can follow along. I've sent directions to the clients and had them, follow along on their map. And sometimes, especially if I'm not really familiar, like I'm out showing property out in the outback in Escondido, I'll say, we're going to make this a tour today, and I'm going to ask for your help getting me to the properties, and that'll help you familiarize yourself with the area where we're looking, of course, which is really, I really don't have a clue where I'm going, but sounds really good when it comes from me like that, right? So is everybody okay with that? I'm just giving you some of the tricks of my trade, but anyway, that's my map. And I love this part. And again, if you're going on caravans, that's a good way to do all this. Okay, so let's delete that. Takes us back to our original search. We've decided that we've already figured out how we're going to email it to them, but I like a little bit different. I like to go ahead and create the collab center. But before I do that, I want to show you here where it says MLS documents. For those of you who aren't sure what the coded fields stand for, I'm going to MLS documents. I'm going to go into here where it says MLS input forms. I'm going to click on that. And then here are, that's interesting. When I look at search and I look at search by class, these are the same property types that the only thing that's not in here is multi-use, right? Multi-class. I'm looking at residential PDF. That's the most common one. It's going to pop it up on the window here, which is kind of neat. And so now when I go through here, I can look through when I have a question about a field like fireplace. What does fireplace, AH16 mean? And so because I'm looking at the client handout assumes that you understand the abbreviations as they appear. Does everybody follow me on that? But the client is going to get a better printout, but you're looking at the agent handout. Okay, everybody okay with that? I really like that feature, and again, I found that by going to the MLS and going to residential PDF. Okay, everybody okay with that? I wanted you to know where we were getting those fields from. Okay. All right, so that being said, I need to go back. I'm going to get rid of my documents really quick. Here's my my fields. Trying to think, I had one other thing I wanted to show you over there. I have different ways of looking at the reports as well. And so when I click on reports, I've saved it under agent preferred because that's what I want. But when I'm going on Caravan, for example, I may end up doing it just a little bit differently. I may end up doing a specialty view, and it should be a 4 up is what I'm looking for. Multi up, there you go. Duh. And so maybe I look at the agent gallery. Okay, and so what does the gallery do? And this is going to have, normally it's going to have four to a page. And so you can see them here. This is how I'm going to do I have 12 pages at 4 to a page. Okay, so obviously some of these I'd like to eliminate. And the way you're going to do that is you'll see the checkbox up here. Maybe you've decided that this one oh, it's Bill's listing. Well, I hate to rule Bill out, but okay, we're going to probably do that. I'm going to rule out his listing on Via Aprilia because it's too far south. Client wants to be in Old Del Mar, so amphitheater for sure. Santa Fe Avenue, not in Old Del Mar, so I've unchecked that box. I'm just going through, unchecking the boxes that I need to get Vista de la Tierra, clearly not. I'm going to hit the next button here, and I'm going to, let's see, this one's on San Diego, so that's not going to be Old Del Mar. Here's another one. Looks like we've got some lots. And then here is another one. There's 4 lots on San Diego. I'm going to eliminate those. Go to my next one. And now I've got, there's San Diego, there's 5 lots. Caminita Daniela, east of 5, not interested. Oceanfront, clearly interested. And then what are they making that look like a piece of dirt? And I don't think that's dirt. But anyway, okay. And then here's Amphitheater again. Bill Morgan has that one. I'm going to click on my radio button again. Stratford Court, clearly down towards the water. And then let's see, lots and land. They decided, nah, we don't want to do land. And then here's 15th Street. So that's a condo across the street from the post office. Okay, we'll consider that. And then down here, I've got Pine Needles, which is obviously still Old Del Mar. And so I'm going to keep that one in place. And then I get to my, again, so you see what I'm saying? I'm unchecking boxes as I go. I don't want to go crazy here, but now the ones that I want to see, I can actually go back to my list. You see where it says back, and now I can see all the ones that I deleted. Everybody okay? Obviously, we'd have been here all day doing this. And again, the report, how do I want that report to look? I showed you the 4 up because I wanted to show you what we're going to look at if we're going to go on a Caravan. Okay, details is where I am, and this is my agent preferred, and that's why I want a full printout on each one of them. Everybody okay with that? Okay, all right, so let's moving forward. So I want to save this search. And so right here where it says save, I want to save it to a client. Okay, so I'm going to click save search as, and I'm going to go to contact, and then I'm going to give it a name, and we're just going to come up with something, and I'm going to assign it to that Kevin character that we had from before. I'm going to click on save, and I'm going to click on save and notify, and then again, it's going to send by email. It's going to send that to the client. Now, I don't want to send it as an email. Right. Why? Because I like Collaboration Center, and that's going to take me to the next really big searchable field for the client. The client can create their own search under the Collab Center. So y'all see how I got there? All right. So I've got, I got in there under contacts. And so I was up here, I clicked on contacts. I could have created the contact first and then started searching and then added it to the contact, in which case I kind of frankly did that. So there's my search activity. But when it pulls it up, it says, do you automatic notifications? How do you want to send it? Do you want to send it as a collab center? Yes. Or do you want to send it as an email? Or do you want to send it off, not send it at all? Well, no, I want to send it as a collab center. I really like collab center. So I'm going to click on options really quick. And it's going to say, well, notification date range. Remember, I only wanted 3 months. If we don't love each other after 3 months, I don't want anything to do with you anyway. If you haven't bought a house in 3 months, there's something wrong. Okay, so select a message body to include. We've already talked about that. I got my message body, and of course, it's not going to. Oh yeah, I could type in a message here. That's not my signature line, but I could type in a message if I wanted to. I like to create fairly generic emails. So again, my notification trigger here is going to be my price change, my new match, my status change, but it could be any of these other things as well. Everybody okay with that? There aren't that many fields in there. When do I want the client to get it? Well, right away. When do I want to get it? Well, right away. I want to know right away what my client is getting. Okay. So again, here's the email address it's going to. What happens if they have an SO? I call them SOs. Linda's an SO, so significant other. So notify the SO as well. So whoever that's going to be, I'm going to enter in that information as well. Okay. All right. Now I'm going to click on my OK button. And then I'm back to my original screen that says, I do want the collab center. Days in history, go back a day. It says there are 48 matches. None of them have been changed. Now, here's the most important element here is you've got to send them a welcome message. If you don't send them the welcome message, it's not going to show up. And that's why I'm telling you this, is because that's important. You got to send them a welcome message. So I'm going to click on send a welcome message. It says it's going to Kevin. Welcome to your collaboration center for buyers. Please let me know if I can help you in any way. That's my theme in life. How can I help you? And then I can preview what it's going to look like. I'll click the preview button and look at, this is the coolest thing, right? It's got my phone number up there. It's got my email address. It's got my handsome picture. Welcome to the Collab Center. And then it's got their name down here, which obviously we made up. And so this is a preview of what they are going to receive. And then it's got my signature line in it. It says, hey, guess what? There's 48 properties. When they click on view listings, it'll pull up the 48 properties for them. And we're going to do this. And I want to show you this. And this is the one thing that a lot of people miss. And this is the ability for the buyer to create their own search. So we'll get to this in just a second. Where do the listings come from? Undecided. They're all going to come out as undecided. The agent may put in recommended. They may have some that they recommend, but you're going to make the decision. Do you want that property to be a favorite? Do you want it to be a possible? Do you want to reject it? And by the way, me as the sellers or as the agent for the buyer, I can see what they're doing. When they click on favorite, I'm on the phone. I'm like, hey, you know what? You checked this listing as favorite. What was it about the listing that drew you to it? Okay. And I want to do that. And this is what bothers me about these email programs is that we set them up to do searches, but then we do that set it and forget it. And set it and forget it, they forget us. So, we don't want to do that. We want to maintain contact with them. Nobody's going to write an offer on it. Half the time, they're not even looking at them. I mean, I got a client that I set him up, unfortunately on an email. We just closed in Malibu, by the way. What day is today? We closed on Monday in Malibu on a property that I had them set up on. They never looked at it. I know they didn't. They had the one property they wanted. They were focused on it. I was sending them other alternatives because I was having some issues with the seller's agent, that kind of thing. And so, obviously you've got a pulse on it a lot better than they do, but they bought that property and hey, listen, I'm not going to complain. Okay. So we can communicate with comments. We can do all kinds of stuff. I'm going to show you all this. They can create custom folders, compare listings. They're going to have them create a password. They're going to, then there's all my contact information. You see how cool that is? So that was my preview button. Let's go ahead and send that. Now I got to figure out now, where did that go? It went to Kevin. It went to my email, which is my email in here, Linda. So I paint myself in a corner frequently. There it is. Okay. So welcome to your collaboration center. So remember, I'm the buyer now. I just got this from an external source, obviously. Here is my email that I just got. Visit your site. I'm going to click on visit your site. Guess what? It says you haven't been here before. So, okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to create a password. And so what is it? What are we in? We are in MLS one exclamation. I'm just going to make a really simple one. Hopefully it'll let me do it. Register. No, I don't want to say that. I don't care. Okay, so it's been completed. And so now I want to sign in. So I'm going to put in my email address and I'm going to put in put in my MLS, and then I'm going to click on sign in and look at this. This is what they're going to get. Okay, so this is, I love this program. I really do. This is the basics, close if you want to close it, but it says updates and new matches will be displayed here. Now my screen's not working. And then it says review undecided listings and mark them favorite, possible, or rejected. I, as the agent, can see what they're doing. Okay, filter above categories, change to a different view, click on icon to assign to a category, more options, all kinds of great stuff. Everybody see what I'm doing here? So, I like this because here's my contact information is all over everything. But the only reason I'm showing you this, because I think Collab Center is really cool. So rather than sending them an email, this is hooking them up in the Collab Center. And obviously, I did the Collab Center class on Tuesday. You should really take a look at that. And once you've done the Collab Center, you'll never go back to email. It just doesn't make any sense. So I'm going to go over here. So I've got listing activity. I've got recent sales, right? And by the way, look what they've got. They've got pictures. They've got all kinds of happy stuff. So each time, since it's a brand new client, they're going to get this, each time, right? So this one's sold, so it's going to have some solds in there because we really didn't delete any of those. I've also got my communications button. There's no comments yet. And this, I've got my save folders. Well, I haven't done anything with any of the properties yet, but save folders is pretty easy. So you notice nothing's in any of them. I'm going to go back to the listing activity and I'm going to say, well, I like Vista de Tierra. So over here, I've got favorite. You explain this to them. Favorite, this is possible, this is rejected. Here's a folder. So I can also compare listings up to 2 of them. So I'm going to click on favorite, right? So now there's 1 in the favorite column. I'm going to go to the next property. I'm going to click on possible. So now there's 1 in the possible column. And then on the third one, I'm going to just plain out rejected. I think I actually sold that house to these people, but okay. Anyway, so I've got 1 of each. Well, when I did that, it created folders. So here's my saved folders. And so there's 1 in favor, 1 in possible, 1 in rejected. Is everybody good with that? I think that's pretty simple. Okay. All right. Now, but the best part about this whole thing is that as they're doing that, as they're going in and making comments and doing stuff about the property, it is also notifying me. Now they can do other stuff. They can click on the additional options for the listing. They can, email me information. Boom, it pops it right up for the email. They can comment on it. And again, when they comment on it, it's going to show up. I'm going to see what their comment is. And so, listen, I want to learn. It could very well be that this property would be perfect for them, but then there's another property that's even better, and I'm going to know the market better than they are. So that's what I'm going to be looking for when they come up with their comments. Okay. So again, they have, I hate this saying, buyers are liars and sellers are worse. I don't think that's true. I think that some of them, of course, think they know everything, but others of them are just there. They just want to learn, they want to buy a house. And so we need to help them with that process. Okay. I've got other options available. They can request a showing. And by the way, when you request a showing, it goes to their agent directly, not to the seller's agent. So it comes directly, when do you want to see it? Here's the date and the time that they want to see it. I can also figure out walk scores of properties, do things like that. This is going to give me the walk score. We're on Vista de Tierra here in Solana Beach. And then back over to here, I can view live mortgage. It's going to go into rate plug, tells me, how much the payments are going to be. With 20% down is going to be, $2 million down, and loan amounts 8,700 million. And here's my payment. And okay, so I'm going to delete those 2. I'm back to my dashboard. I can also start an offer, which is kind of cool. Starting an offer, now again, this goes to you. This does not go to the seller's agent. Okay, so starting an offer, how much? What are they? I don't remember. What was it? 10 million. I'll give you another couple of zeros. Okay, 10 million. I want to close in 30 days. Any other items? Sure. And make this my new home, which means it will show his new home on the screen, and it's going to create that field for you. And I'm going to come. I don't think they should say submit offer, because it leaves you with the impression that it's going to send an offer to the seller's agent. No, it's not. It's going to send it to you, their agent. And this is again why I like this. Okay, so we successfully started the offer. Now, you know, when you get it, you know, you're going to call them up and say, what do you want to do? So anyway, it shows my new home over here. So it created that for you because that was the one that you wanted, you know, it to create. Okay, all right, is everybody okay with that? All right, so but the most important thing, property search. Let's take a look at property search. Now, it's got a whole bunch of things. Oh, nuts, they all went away. Let's go back to buyer activity. Let's see if it'll do it for me. Nope, they all went away. How do I get that back? I don't know how we get that back. Okay, well, anyway, I'm going to show you. So it's really simple. So because you set up the collab center, so in other words, how many times have you had a client tell you, you know, here's what I want, right? Because you're always asking the good questions. You're always, how much do you want to spend? You know, what area do you want to live in? You know, we're drilling into price range. We're drilling into location. You know, how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms? I had a call just before this webinar. You know, we want to get rid of the pool. Probably a good idea. Okay, so, you know, they give you criteria. So, but when you email them listings, it doesn't give them the ability to change anything. Now, what happens now, knowing that I can monitor their behavior here, when they click on property search, obviously this is a huge expanse, but what are we going to do? We want to keep the price range a high of I think 10 million is a lot. Let's just do 1 million. And I'm going to click my submit button. And so, you know, this is going to knock the numbers from 77,644. Because remember, I'm looking all over. And remember, we have data share. So that means I'm able to look up in Riverside. I'm able to look at all these places. But that's a lot of properties just in our area. Okay. So it takes a couple of minutes because it's a fairly significant database. So now we're down to 65 listings. They want it to be at least 3 bedrooms or greater. Submit. They want bathrooms to be at least 3 or greater. You see, this is the buyer doing all this on their own. They are creating their own search, and they can save their own search. And that's what's so cool about this, is they're saving it, and you can see what they saved. Okay, so you get a chance to talk to the buyer and find out, why was that important to you? That's not something you said to me earlier. You didn't tell me that you had to have 3 or more bedrooms. So maybe I can change it on my end, but it's like, why? Okay, so numbers went way up. Property type, I'm going to change the property type, only residential. I'm going to click on that button. Obviously, there's not 404,000 properties. Status, oh, look, this is the problem. Sold. Now I'm going to get rid of all those, get rid of my expireds, get rid of my off markets, get rid of my rented. What happens now when I click my submit button? Hopefully I don't crash the computer. But you can see what I'm showing you is what the client, they've knocked it down to 26 properties. That's better than the 48 I was sending them, right? Because they have different criteria. And so now it's going to jump back up. Why? I don't know. But status again, I've got those. I can click on the more button and I can put more things in here. Okay. So remember, listing visibility type, I can put, active MLS, or I can put coming soon. What else? I can do my square footage. So it's got to have a minimum of 2,000 square feet. It's got to have, I don't care about any of this stuff. It has to be built. I don't want to pay Melrose, so it has to be built after 1988. Because remember, Melrose came into existence in October of 1988 in San Diego. Okay, so now I'm going to click submit. Let's see how that changed my fields. Still showing me submit. Okay, we'll do that. Ha! Now we're down to 2. This is very exciting. Okay, so now I'm down to 2 properties that meet their criteria. Okay, and where are they? They're right over here. Okay, so let's start drilling into that. I'm gonna pull that over here. I'm gonna here's my 2 properties. It's Miramar Ranch North. I'm gonna zone in on it a little bit more. And so just south of Scripps Poway Parkway. And so as I click on the link, it's going to pop up. And this is the buyer now. The buyer's popping up the link, and it's going to show them what that property looks like. Okay, so unfortunately, that one's pending, but okay, I get it. I've got all this information in here. And so I'm going to click on the pictures because why? Because I like to look at pictures. But this is the important part. They're going to see what we're going to allow them to see in the MLS. Okay, so this is the first picture, but now I can go picture to picture and go through and look at this. This is a pretty nice little home. I can also click on the pictures over here, but this is my photos, right? And then underneath it, my bedrooms, my bathrooms, days on the market. This is scary. Are you all seeing this? I had a property that agent listed in Coronado for $1,250,000, and they closed it 2 weeks later for $1,750,000. So 500, $500,000 more than asking. And so we had some angry buyers who have loved to had it, but they weren't competitive in pricing. And the offer did come in higher, but it was after this one had been accepted. And so obviously this seller would have done anything to get rid of this buyer and taken the other one for $150,000 more, but this buyer was closing the deal. And so that's what ended up happening. So again, I'm looking at the listing. I've got a whole bunch of things. I've got property info, history, valuation, mortgage center, community. I can also look at the map. I can also look at the street, but let's look at what we got. So when I'm looking at this, I see the remarks section from the MLS. And again, as I did my class earlier this morning on rules and tools, be careful what you write in here because people are looking at it and it goes up on the internet. Okay, over here on the right, I've got my start my offer. So how much are they asking? $8.99. Well, I'm going to give them full price. Okay, so whoops, maybe way over full price. So $8.99.9. I'm going to give them an extra $900, 30-day closing. Any other terms? Make this my new home. Submit, and again, it's going to send it to my agent, not to the seller's agent here. Okay, and it changed my new home too. This is going to be a different new home for me. Okay, so property information, here's the breakdown of what's in the multiple listing service: bedrooms, bathrooms, square feet, location, complex, all that. I can also send a comment to my agent by clicking in this field. I can also request a showing by clicking on submit. You've seen this before. I just want to show you again. And again, so the agent's now been notified, and unfortunately I am the agent, about requesting a showing. Okay, so virtual tour links, if any, room dimensions. Oh, they did it right. Look at that. They took my class. So you always put the larger number first, kind of makes the room look bigger, supposedly. Features that are in the property, schools. They didn't list any of the schools. That's not uncommon. I prefer sending them the database where the schools are because I don't want to make a mistake. I don't want schools are going to get you in trouble. Okay, so miscellaneous HOA. There's no Melrose. Again, we were looking at actually we were looking at 1988 or greater, so I'm surprised. If they didn't want Melrose, we should have looked at made that the maximum. So other fees, if any. Here's the property history. It tells me, it was put it back in 02. It was listed at 335. In 18, it was listed at 680. And then in today's date, it's pending at the asking price of $8.99. Valuation model, I only use the one. I don't use the one owned by other companies. And it says it was probably underpriced. Look at that. Probably priced a little bit higher. Should have been priced a little bit higher. Here's my mortgage center. Yeah, everybody follow what I'm saying. It's got all this really cool information in it. And so they can determine if they want to keep it as a favorite or do a possible, do a rejected, put it in a folder, or they can do the other stuff with me that they might want to do. Again, I can look at my map view to get an idea where it is. I can look at the street view to literally wander around in the community. This is I've had people I've worked with that said that makes me nauseous. So I don't know. Anyway, property info, again, that's going to be the information that we've already seen, just brought up to the top. Okay, everybody okay with that? I just think that's the coolest thing ever. I really do. I think this is a great way. Your client now is going to go in and they're going to create that property search, and they like it so much that they click on save. They want to give it a name. They're going to give it a name. They click on save so they can come back to it at any time. They're kind of akin to what you do, right? When you save the search, you save it and you give it a name, and then you can come back to it later. Okay, so any questions on the Collab Center? Because I'm going to get off this page now and go back to showing you some ways to search other MLSs and why it really doesn't make any sense. Okay, so again, this is your view. There's the email. I'm going to X out of that, get rid of that. And then this is what it would have looked like. And so I'm going to hit my back button. I'm going to cancel it. And so once again, I'm back here to the Collab Center. I can put comments in there. I can remove the search from the contact. Okay, I can use that search for somebody else, or I can delete the search altogether. I can edit it. I can resend the invitation. Remember, I have to send the welcome message, and then I can always view the Collab Center from the agent's perspective. And so I clicked on view the Collab Center so I can see what they were doing. You follow me there? That's really important, folks, because I want to see what they're doing. And plus, property search, if they saved a search, I'm going to see the search too. And that's what I want to do. I want to know, what are you guys doing, so I can keep up with you. Okay, so so for my purposes, I'm going to go back in later and delete the search completely. But this is how I do it on the seller side of thing, or on the buyer side of things. But I can also change it and add. I can add another search, obviously. I can add a save search, or I can load an existing search, but I can also search that this client may also be a seller. And so maybe I want them to have access to other properties that come on the market in the area. And so they're listing, it pulls up the listing. Which one am I going to grab? I'll grab this one. Oh yeah, that's pending. Yeah, okay, so let's grab Decker. Decker's available. I'm going to click on that. I've got it currently disabled, but I'm going to enable it. And then I'm going to enable the email report. And again, it's going to send it weekly. But this is what I'm going to do if they're a seller. In this case, they're a seller and a buyer. So when they load their collaboration center, they're going to see both. Okay. All right. So I can view the detail of the listing. Here it is. And again, this is from my perspective. Okay. All right. Everybody good with all that information in there? And then any messages that were sent, I can click on message history and I'll be able to see what those messages look like. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to close that. And I'm going to get rid of my multi-class. Is everybody with me so far? Anybody have any questions so far? I want to make sure that I'm covering a lot of material, but as you all know, when the webinar ends, I'm still available for you. Send me an email. I'll help you, okay? Like I always say, if you look good, you make me look good. I want you to look good. I really do, okay? All right. So now, I've got, and again, put it in the Q&A field. So what else? Under search again, so I search by properties. That's the most common way to do it. But I also have specialty searching. I'm not going to go through each one of these. Your chances of using this are fairly small. But tour and open house, I probably would use. And that's the one I'm going to do when I'm doing a search. And when I'm going to go on Caravan on Tuesday, for example. So you can see the last time I went on Caravan was a little while ago. So I need to do today. And that did not work. So 2/23. Oh yeah, today's date is the 27th. Yes, I know. I've got to change this date over here too. So I'm going to click today again, and it's going to be the 27th. And so it says there's no property today. Well, that's because the areas that I'm selecting, we do our caravans on Tuesdays. So there's Tuesday. Yes, I know. We're going to have to change that. I love it. Okay, so today, and so boom, there it is. And there's one property already on Caravan. So if you're doing your tour search for your Caravan properties, this is what you're going to come up with. The only one on Caravan right now is Las Encilla. Okay. All right. And then again, I go over here to reports to change what I can look at from here. All right. So back over to my search. Hot sheet is loaded again. I think you use a market monitor. I think you're fine. The saved property searches. So all those searches that I've been saving, you can see I've got some of the ridiculous looking ones over here, but that's how I find my saved searches. And then I also have my listing card, which would be for properties that, you know, we're talking to the seller, you know, about selling their property. Okay. All right. Excuse me. Goodness gracious, you sneeze on the truth. Okay, one of the issues I do want to address, and again, and this comes up a lot, when I go over here to resources, folks, when I click on resources, I get, I lose it. I get other options. Over here, I've got 5 other MLSs I can search. So again, remember, we're involved in what we call data share. So we share data with each of those MLSs, okay? So they can see ours, we can see theirs. I like our MLS the best because it's got a lot of features to it that the other MLSs just frankly, they don't contain. Okay, so let's take a look. I want to pull that up. I want to show you what I'm talking about. So let's use this as an example, CRMLS. So what's the difference? So we are in Paragon, Paragon search. They use Matrix. Okay, so let's click on that and we're going to see that it's going to create the Matrix search. So they use Matrix, we use Paragon. By the way, all of these put together by the same group of people, right? All of these are put together by Black Knight. Black Knight puts them together and they sell them as individual packages to each of the agencies, each of the MLSs. So I go over here, I want to look at MLS listings and I see, let's see, what kind of they using? So they're using a completely different program. All right. So they're going to use Matrix. Okay. So they're going to use one similar to CRMLS. And so if you want to go around and learn all these search fields, that's fine. But let me tell you what the advantage is. So you have a huge advantage to searching in your MLS. So you're a member of your MLS, and when you do a search, you have a number of things going on. When you can do 2 things in your MLS that you cannot do in their MLS. And so I won't ask you what you think those 2 things are, but well, first of all, I'm gonna have to learn all this new code because when I'm searching in our MLS, I'm going to see this stuff in their MLS. It's going to show up. It'll have a different number. So for example, you saw some of the listings we were looking at earlier had like NDP in front of them, stuff like that. So, you know, in our MLS, we do 23, you know, if it was this year, listed this year, but others use different criteria. Okay. But when I go to search, let's use CRMLS. So when I go to search in CRMLS, and I pull up a listing, I am doing it as a guest from San Diego. So you see, I'm a guest from San Diego, which means I have access to their MLS, but there are 2 things that I cannot do. One of them is I cannot save a listing. Okay, why? Because I'd have to be a subscriber to that MLS in order to be able to save a listing to that MLS. Okay, well, I'm already a subscriber to Paragon, to SD MLS. I know I can save a listing there, and I know that when they're up there in Matrix looking at properties in San Diego, I know that they can see my listing. Okay, so that's, you know, okay, so strike one. I'm going to stay with Paragon, with our MLS, because why? Because there, you know, I can't save a listing up there, but I can save a listing here, and they are going to see the listing no matter where they are, because we have data share. And by the way, we have data share currently. I don't want to have to join their MLS just to be able to input a listing in their MLS, because I've already got the ability to do that. I can, whoops, wait a minute, that didn't change screens. So there you go. So, you know, why would I save a listing? Why would I join them, become a subscriber up there if I'm already got access to the MLS in the local area? Now I say that, and so when I showed you that list, And again, it's 5, this is pretty much covers everything. Think of it this way, covers pretty much everything south of the 10. So literally I had a listing up in Solomar, which was, northeast of LA, south of the 210. And I put it in the MLS. I sold it out of the MLS. I put it in our MLS and I sold it to somebody who wasn't even a subscriber to our MLS. They found it because when they searched in their MLS, my listing showed up. That's all I care about, right? So number one, I can save listings in our MLS, but I can't save listings in their MLS. But who cares? I've got our MLS. And so once I save it there, all of these other MLSs can see it. Again, pretty much as I said, when you look at the list, it's pretty much everything south of the 10. Okay, so if you look at the service areas up for these, you'll see they do the same thing. Okay, so I don't have any reason to go to those MLSs to save a listing. I'm going to save them in our MLS. So that's enough. However, I also can't save a search. So in our MLS, as I've been showing you, I've shown you how to save searches as not only an email search, but a client contact, but then also a collaboration center, right? But when I go up in here, I can't do that. So I'm going to click on my search button, residential, and again, I'm going to look up, let me see here, today's new listings. Let's look up today's new listings. And so I want to see, right now there's nothing. Down here, there's 2,500 plus. And by the way, folks, I am a subscriber to other MLSs in other parts of the country, and I do use this. And in some places it's better than others. So for example, I'm a subscriber to Bright MLS, which is most of the Eastern Seaboard. So I can look at properties all the way up and down the coastline on the East Coast because I am a subscriber to that because I'm a broker over there as well. So let's give it I want to see all the coming soons, and you'll see the numbers down here change. I want to see the actives. So we're back up to 2,500. I want to see active under contract. I want to see pendings. And so my numbers will keep changing, but I'm trying to narrow it down a little bit. So let's do this. I'm going to select none, and then I'm going to click on only the active listings. And again, 2,500, but I've got a little count. So again, I'm showing you their MLS. Okay. So what do we got? We got how many listings came on the market since the 1st of June? I'm going to click on OK, and it says 188 properties have come on the market since the 1st of June. Okay. I can do counties, I can do cities, I can do all these other fields, but I want to limit my price. So I want to keep it under 100. So I'm going to do minus 100. Make it minus a million. It does it in zero. Well, it didn't do that, did it? So price range, enter exactly price range. So that should have. Maybe there weren't any, but well, you know what I need to do is I need to raise that number. Let's go to 10 million. And so I want anything that didn't work either. Gosh darn it. Okay, so let's look at 550 to what am I doing here? This is not working. Yeah, 58 properties. Okay, so I got 58 properties. So I can either click on this. All right, let's go to results. I'm going to click on the results. Again, I could click on it up here at the top too. And I'm looking around, I see all this, and I click, well, let's look at it on a map. And so now it'll pull up a map for me. Look at that, they're looking all the way up in San Francisco. So again, I need to tweak that a little bit in my search. But I've got all these properties here. When I looked at it on the map, I'm going to go back to my results, and I see that I have 58 properties, but apparently they're all over the place. Now, here's the problem. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to click on that. Why? Because I want to save my search. Okay, save down here. So new save search. And again, it should tell me I don't have the ability to do that. So there we're going to call it that. Do I have a contact in there? Oh, look at all the people that are already in there, none of which are mine. And we're gonna call it Bob, and hopefully, nope, that doesn't work either. So it's looking at creating a new contact. So let's call it Kevin. I'm going through all this, but just to make a point. And so notice that I can't save the search. Okay, you see what I'm saying? You've not entered all the fields. What am I missing? Somebody tell me. Enable reverse prospecting. I can't save it. There's no way for me to save it. Category, maybe let's call it a buyer. Still won't let me save it. You've not entered all the values. So it's not going to let me save the search. Why? Because I'm not a subscriber to CRMLS. And frankly, I'm struggling with the reason for being a subscriber, right? Think about it. So, I got all those acts. I've got the two things I cannot do in other MLSs. I cannot save a listing, and I cannot save a buyer or seller search, frankly, for that matter. Does everybody follow me what I'm saying? So why? Okay, back over here, I can go into these other MLSs, which I'm showing you up here at the top, but it doesn't do me any good. Okay, so that's why I'm saying that I'm going to probably do everything in Paragon. Okay, one thing I did want to show you, and again, and I did not do this earlier because we started going down a different path, but let's take a look at. I want to show you. I'm going to pick on Del Mar again, but I want to show you how to map the features, and I really like the mapping features. So here's Del Mar. There aren't that many properties active back on the market. I'm going to click on my map, and I can click anywhere, and I really like the mapping features. It's come a long way since back in the day, right? Notice in the lower corner down in here, the X again marks the location that I picked to put there. So the default is going to be my office, which happens to be right next door to Ruth Chris. Okay, and so I love this map of the seabed. So it falls right off into the Pacific Ocean. Okay, so where's the properties? I'm looking here. I want to narrow this search down. So one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a polygon. Okay, and so I'm going to start here. I'm going to go over to here. I'm going to go down to here, and then I click on the last point where I started, and now it saves that area for me in my search. Okay, I wanted to show you that mapping feature because I think it's just the coolest thing, one of the coolest things we've ever done. And because of that, I don't like to put in zip codes. And part of the reason is because sometimes the zip codes conflict. Notice that it says North City. So actually it's wrong. It should be down here. But North City used to be known as North City West. That was the name of it when there was nothing here. I remember when this was dirt, right? In fact, I remember driving through the fields there, four-wheeling it. But it was dirt. And then they had a contest, and a sixth grader came up with the name Carmel Valley, and it got named Carmel Valley. They didn't like being called East Del Mar. So for them, it had a bad connotation. But anyway, I got 13 properties in here. I'm going to start drilling in. Again, I can move my map. And as I drill in, I see more information on each of these properties. Okay, so that's why I wanted to show you that mapping feature. I just really think it's the coolest thing. But one of the other things I can do in here right now, I have the parcel lines, but I can also do the floodplain. Right, I can click on floodplain, and it'll show me the floodplain. Okay, and so do I want that to be on? Yeah, I want it on. That's the kind of whole general idea. And this shows the different floodplains that it might be in. I want to look at traffic. I click on traffic, and again, these are called layers. And so now I can see the traffic is not looking so good on a Thursday afternoon at 3:50, right? It's already starting to bundle up. And you've got what going on right now? You've got the races going on. So again, this is very common to see this traffic. Look at this red, crimson red traffic coming in, and there's my flood zone. So coming into the Del Mar racetrack area. Okay, so obviously we're not even up here. We got to go up here to get to Via de la Valle. So it's just going to be stop and go until I get up there. And then of course we know that the racetrack is in the floodplain. So that's for sure. And so anyway, back to my little map over here. I've got other things I can do. I can map the high schools, which is seems to be very popular. And so it's going to think about that for a second. But the high schools, it should list all of the high schools over. Oops, they're going to be on the other side of the freeway. Where are the high schools? They're going to be over here. Torrey Pines High School. Where are the others? There's a whole bunch over here. So Cathedral Catholic, Sycamore Ridge School, Canyon Crest Academy. So it's going to put all those schools over there for me. Okay. What else? Anything else in there exciting to anybody? I think that's about it. But I wanted to show you what that looked like. And so now I'm going to run my search. And my search is going to give me these addresses here. Once again, I've got 14 total addresses. And then I can go through and pick the ones I like and the ones that I don't like. But again, I wanted to show you that if I want to go back to that map search, I click on map search. Maybe I want to change the map search now. Maybe I want to edit it. And so in editing it, I can exit out and start over. And you can create more than one search at a time. So, I'm not against doing that. I can also hide the shape that we've created. So I can create more searches if that was something that I was going to choose to do. Okay. So back to my search. I have it set at hybrid, but you might be more comfortable with a road view. So there's your road view, or I could just have an aerial view. I think the aerial view is helpful in Del Mar because I know that that Del Mar zip code goes from the I-5 to the water, but everything east of Crest Canyon is Del Mar zip code, but City of San Diego services, which means your mail comes there from Rancho Bernardo versus Del Mar gets their mail from the Del Mar post office. Okay, so City of San Diego police for protection for fire, but in Del Mar we've got San Diego Sheriff's Department, we've got the Del Mar Fire Department. Okay, so lots of neat little features, but I want to see that. I want to know, and it looks like we've got some traffic there, but it's not too bad. Most people don't go any further than 15th Street, and then they cut down to the plaza or something along that line. So, but then I got my properties in here that if I wanted to look at them, I can dig in. Here's my $3.5 million active listing on Orchid Lane. And $3.5 million. Notice the NDP, that tells me it's not in our MLS, it's in another MLS. And when I click on that, I get and that's that particular company is not I don't think they're a member of SDAR anymore. That's a long political conversation. But look at this market time, 234 days market time, but days on the MLS was 162. So must have been under contract, must have fallen apart. And so anyway, I wanted to show you all that. Okay, so criteria, back to my criteria. Again, I may want to eliminate Del Mar. Will that change the number of properties? Well, there's only 14, so it did not change the number of properties. Does anybody have any questions about that? God, I could keep you here all day, but I'm not going to do it. I did promise to get you out a little bit early. So let's go back and see what we haven't covered. So we talked about a regular search. We talked about properties in both San Diego and Riverside County. I showed you how to save a search, and I showed you why it makes sense to just use SDMLS. And I showed you how to do a collaboration center and how your client could save a search in the collaboration center, one of my favorite things. So we logged into the MLS. There you have it. I want to thank you for joining us today for Paragon Searches. I did create a YouTube website. And so if you want to get to that YouTube website, get your QR code reader ready, there's a QR code. I learned how to do that almost 2 months ago now. I'm very proud of myself. Takes you to that YouTube website. You can also just go to your browser and type in @Burke Real Estate Consultants Inc. And again, my work, I've been in real estate for, almost 45 years, almost half a century. I cannot believe I'm saying that, but okay. But anyway, I'm here to help. I mean, I don't focus as much on transactions anymore. Probably should, right? Because Linda's finding good ways to spend the money. So I need to probably do that. And then I also have a bit.ly link, and we had to create this because my class, DRE class, has been approved for 5 hours of continuing education. And so I need a place to put the form to apply to take the class. Case is important. And then please remember to like and subscribe. Liking just makes me feel good. I don't get paid for it. Subscribe means that that you'll get updated when I load these new webinars in. I'm going to load the ones from this week up here. I think today I'm going to load all the rest of them. But if you hit subscribe, it'll just notify you whenever there's a new link in there. So thank you for doing that. And I do thank the people who have already done that. And so Stephanie, if you've got Scott anywhere nearby, like and subscribe. Anyway, good to hypothetically see you again. Thanks for being here. If you have any other subjects that you think would be of interest, let them know. Education@sdar.com. It's not just a committee, it's a department. So they're here to help support you. I have weekly email updates that include the links to my classes. Somebody mentioned this morning that my class on Tuesday is sold out. I told them that, sign up in here, get the newsletter. You'll never get that message. It'll always say you're in. I want you in the newsletter. I want you in the webinar. And it also gives you the links to my YouTube website. So does anybody have any questions? Anything that we've covered today? I do want to help you. It's been a long day for you and a long day for me. But barring any questions, I do want to thank you all for being here. I very much value your time and I appreciate you. And so probably won't see you again until Tuesday. In that case, I wish you a very nice weekend. And if there's anything I can do for you, please let me know. I am happy to help you in any way that I can. Thank you again. And as I say, from my hometown of Del Mar, I look forward to seeing you around the track. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye for now.